I'm back in the New York Blue.
Okay, very special treat this week. We are joined by longtime fan, maybe not necessarily of the podcast, but just longtime fan of
You and Brian.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a fan of you and Brian.
Okay. Matthew Innace has joined us to talk a little Knicks basketball. Matthew, how are you?
I am very good. Thank you guys for asking me to come on. I know that I text constantly about the Knicks, so it's nice to actually speak words out loud about them, which is exciting. So I'm glad that you guys asked me to come on.
So, Matthew, it's my understanding that, we've talked about it a little bit, but I feel like you're fairly disappointed in the Knicks this season, no?
No, not at all. That is completely inaccurate. This is the best 6-game stretch that I have watched as a Knicks fan in what feels like forever. And I know everyone likes to remind us of the Melo years. That never felt real enough for me. Not saying this feels real either, but like looking back, I wanted to be excited, but I think ultimately we all knew that they just didn't have enough with the Melo era. And there was no they can get this eventually because we were capped out. There were no real other players coming, and it always felt like this is kind of how good we are. This team isn't as good as that team, but the feeling that we can get significantly better, I feel, is higher than that team was.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the other problem with the Melo years was that we were still only 10 years out, or just a little over 10 years out from being respectable. And so even with Melo, it just didn't think that we were any sort of real challenge to the Heat. And so, you just felt like, well, but we could be better than this. So, I want us to be better than this. Now it's been 20 years since we were respectable. So now it's literally I would kill for the Melo. I would take anything at this point.
Absolutely.
There's also just clear skies. There's no anchor. There's no disaster. There's no Amari Stoudemire contract.
Yeah.
There's no albatross on our necks. There's always
right.
In those years, there was always something where you're yeah, but this is a disaster that we have to deal with. And we had no first round picks, or we have we have picks. We have some young talent. We have cap space. We have a coach who seems like maybe knows what he's doing. And we have someone running the show who I don't know if they know what they're doing, but they're not, they're respected around the league, and they are in charge, and people know them, and maybe they have some ideas that can make us this. Actually, it feels like we're a car that's at least going on the road at a nice clip, and there's nothing in our way.
I totally agree. I think that's fantastic to say, because that's really all it is. It's they're playing good enough to make me happy now, and the optimism is there. And if people don't see that, I don't know what to tell them. I think that it is an exciting time to be a Knicks fan.
I agree. I feel like it's the most exciting in a long time. It's a young team. It's our team. We've none of these guys are spoiled or tainted by any affiliations, That Melo team was always a little bit inorganic. It was kind of thrown together.
Yes. That was a mishmash held together by a star player, which, we don't have a star player, but everyone else is on this roster right now is more promising than a lot of that roster, other than Melo, obviously, which is a big other than Melo. But
yeah, well, also the Melo team, the Melo years, there was really only one season that we were actually good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, and when you think about that team,
and our point guard was 43 years old,
right? The whole team was so old. We had Rasheed Wallace was an important piece on that team, Kenyon Martin or whatever. It was really
such
old.
A weird team.
Such a weird team. J.R. Smith was the second best player, or I guess Tyson Chandler was, but J.R. Smith was very important to that team.
A lot of Novak.
It was not a sustainable situation.
Novak shot his way into an MSG job just based on that 3 years with the Knicks.
It's so funny. We're old enough that we saw good Knicks teams, right? And then we really went through the valley. But there's people who are adults who haven't seen who were the Melo. That was the highlight of their fandom. There's Knicks fans who Linsanity was literally the pinnacle of being a Knicks fan, and for me, I always found that whole era even that thing was kind of sad. It was fun there was something depressing about it. Like you were just like, boy, we have an Asian point guard and and he's good. I guess this is cool. I don't know.
Right, but he's like, right. That was the most exciting thing about that season because we knew that the pinnacle was an Asian point guard having a good night. Like that was the best that team could achieve.
That was fun though.
That was fun.
Awesome. It was great, but it was like there was
But
something
you knew it
was like
sustainable.
yes, it was bittersweet. I guess it was like okay, but what is this?
It's also
Like-
it was like nothing interesting to talk about. It was just like, oh, that was fun. Like
Yeah.
we know he can't do that forever, and he's not gonna. And when he stops, the team stinks.
And it was like they couldn't put a winning team around Stephon Marbury. They sure as shit weren't going to become a winning team with Jeremy Lin.
Right,
As the
but
point
just that, yeah. I was so upset when he left, but in hindsight, it didn't really matter. But it was. I just feel like, see, I've been trying to get Scott to just like. I feel like Scott is so afraid of believing in this Knicks team a minute too soon.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that, Scott. But what? Okay, so Scott, what are you so afraid of falling in love instantly? 6 games in, why won't you fall in love? And I know the heartbreak, but tell me, why won't you fall in love, Scott?
Well, look, there's a lot of things in play here, Matthew. First of all, you can't decide to fall in love. You know,
That's true.
this
That's
is
fair.
it's a good lesson to teach your children. You can't.
That's a good answer.
I'm just not in love. Like, I'm not in love. I feel like, and I think the biggest issue we have is Julius Randle. Like, am I willing to embrace Julius Randle, and am I willing to embrace him as the best player on this team, and then, with those two things in mind, actually think we're a good team? And I'm just not ready to do it yet. I want to, and it is. It's like I sound like a bit character in a rom-com, but it is like I want to love him, and on paper there's a lot to love, but I just don't feel it in my loins. You know what I mean?
That's understandable. But, you know, my thing with Julius Randle is I genuinely don't think people understand how terrible of a coach David Fizdale actually was. They couldn't run a baseline out of bounds play. They couldn't run a sideline out of bounds play. They couldn't do anything. That guy's game plan was, Julius, just be better than you actually are. Like, that was, I think, his plan, what he drew on the whiteboard. And now you're just seeing 6 games in, a real-life NBA coach. Yeah, Julius Randle's not going to put up LeBron James numbers. We know that. But he's also fun. He's energetic. He plays hard. And even last year when he was terrible, if anyone said that he didn't play hard, I won't even listen to them talk about it because that's not true. But he's good. He's a good player. He was a good player before he got here. He sucked with the worst coach potentially in Knicks history. And now he's playing pretty freaking great right now. And I think a lot of it is just a change of coach that knows what he's doing.
But is he like energetic? Do you feel energy from Julius Randle?
Yo, when he was one-on-one with Sabonis in the paint the other night, he took out Sabonis, drew the Sabonis missed, and then he drew the foul going for the loose ball, right? If that didn't get you energized or on your feet, Scott, you don't want to fall in love. You have to be in love.
I mean, look, if it makes you feel any better, I have the same, and I don't understand why, but I have the same feelings about RJ. Like, I'm not really in love with him either, and I'm really frustrated because, again, if we are going to be good and if we are going to be for real, RJ and Julius Randle both have to be good, and they have to play together, and they suck at it, and it makes me mad at both of them. I don't want to take either of their side. I hate them both. I do think that Randle, it's more incumbent upon Randle to do something about it because he's the veteran player. But, like, RJ too, it's like, yeah, you have these great nights, and then you have these other nights, and you stink, and I don't get it. And why are you doing this? Just be good all the
It's really
time.
the other way around, though. I think RJ is ultimately more important than Julius. Like, Julius Randle doesn't have to, like, we can get something out of Julius Randle if he ends up not being as good as he is now, and we have to like move on from Julius Randle or figure like that can be done. Like I think RJ being good is really critical because like he's 20 years old. He's the guy that you're going to really build around. Like he's the guy who's going to maybe attract other players who want to come play with him. Like Julius Randle is this like pleasant surprise that to me has made this year's team actually maybe kind of good. Whereas like when we started this year, I was like, I wanted to see Mitch play really well and RJ play well. And then if like a Knox or Frank or one of those guys could develop, then like, okay, now we have a few nice pieces. Julius Randle playing really well makes me go like, oh, maybe this team doesn't have to suck. Like maybe this team on its own is pretty good. And then like all of a sudden we're not terrible and we could be a lot better than people think because Julius Randle, whether he's going to be here for 10 years or just this year, like he's serving a dual purpose of making us pretty good in the short term and allowing these guys to like get better and be on a decent team and make us an attractive destination and, you know, put us on a upsell. So that's like, you don't necessarily, if you can't fall in love with Julius Randle, like I don't think you have to, but RJ does have to be good.
No, I totally agree with you. And that's why I think it's Randall who has to figure out how to play with RJ and not the other way around.
Right. But I feel like, I just think sometimes you are like, he's got to do it like today. Like I remember on one of our texts where you were like, this is a big quarter for RJ Barrett. And it was like the third quarter of like the fourth game. And I was like, you know, I'm willing to give him another quarter after this one before I throw him in the garbage. But, you know, I think they'll figure it out.
Why doesn't RJ handle the ball more? Why doesn't the offense run through him more often?
If RJ Barrett was shooting like 5% better from the field, everybody would be thrilled with RJ Barrett. Like he's averaging like 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and shooting like 25% from the field. If he was shooting 40% from the field, no one would be complaining about RJ Barrett.
No, I agree with you. That's why I sort of think that one of the reasons he's shooting so bad is because he ends up in the corner where we kick it to him, and that's just not what he is. Like, why isn't he bringing the ball up and attacking the basket and being the one to kick it out? I don't understand why that's not happening more. And maybe it doesn't have to. I just don't know why it's not.
I got to tell you, I think part of that is I think he's a better dribbler than Randall. I think a lot of times when we see them sort of defer to Barrett in that sense, he turns the ball over a lot. And I know like Randall turns the ball over a lot too, but that's because Randall has the ball in his hands 80% of the game. If you gave that to Barrett, I think we'd see a lot more careless passes, and it would be a little bit more discouraging than how some Knicks fans already feel about him right now. I don't think he's a great passer. I think he's strong with the ball. He's good when he just goes, kind of like how everyone hated Randall for that last year. But I don't know how great he is at penetrating, breaking down a defense, and kicking it. Believe it or not, I think Randall's better at it than he is.
But so then, if he can't do that, and he's not a good 3-point shooter, like, is he good?
He's 20 years old, and he's good. But
what is he good at?
He's crafty. He reminds me so much of Melo without a jump shot, and Melo without a jump shot probably sucks. Which is
right.
Like I think because he's slow, but like he scores in wiry, weird ways, and you're like, how does this? Like that's an NBA move that he just made, and that's why
big. I think he's strong.
He's big,
too.
strong. He's big. I think that the jump shot. The fact that his free throws have gotten better tells me his jump shot can get better too. And if his jump shot doesn't come together, he's really not that good because he's not as quick as Russell Westbrook at getting to the rim. He doesn't break down a defense like those guys that can't shoot. But he's got to develop a jump shot. And
yeah, he doesn't have to hit threes. He can't.
No.
He's got to hit twos. Like he's got to be like a DeMar DeRozan type player. Like he can't be. He can't shoot like 40% from mid-range. He's got to be a good mid-range shooter. But I do think he will be.
So I think so too. I think the jump shot will come.
Okay.
It's not ugly. It's not broken. It just.
And I think he does handle the ball pretty well. I mean, he's averaging like 4 assists, Scott. Like I don't. They're not going to turn the whole offense over to him. Like I think they pick their spots where he's the lead ball handler, but it's not all the time. Like, you know, I don't know how much you want them to put on his plate, but he plays like a ton of minutes. He's handling the ball. He's like, he's just missing a few shots.
I just want to point out, I asked you guys, what is RJ good at? You spent a couple of minutes relisting the things he's not good at. Matt called him mellow without a jumper. Then we said he's big, strong, better at free throws, and has to shoot better from 2. So, I still don't know. My point is, I guess that's a fair point. Like, what do I want the Knicks to put on his plate? And how much do I really think he should be handling the ball? He is playing a ton of minutes. But I guess it's just like, what is he good at? If he's not going to handle the ball, if he's not going to...
He does handle the ball, and he plays good defense. And as a big guard, like, he can guard. He's very good on defense. He can get to the basket. He draws fouls. Like, he can score. He just needs to, like, make some more open jump shots. If he was making more of his open jumpers right now, like, a lot of people would be talking about what a great start RJ Barrett was off to.
I do agree with that. And, yeah, I don't think that he's not good at handling the ball. I think right now, as a 20-year-old, Randall's just better at it, and Thibodeau wants to win games. I think that's what it is. I think he trusts Randall more. Thibodeau's big like that. Like, Reggie Bullock's still playing because Thibodeau trusts him for whatever reason that is. But he trusts certain guys to do certain things, and I just don't think he's there yet with RJ, which is fine, I guess.
I would just love it to see him, because I agree. I think he's really good at attacking the basket. Now his free throws are better. He should be attacking the basket more. He should be getting to the line more. I would just like to see him do more of it, and I would like for there to be stretches where, like, it's like RJ time.
I would like that too. I'm thinking that, I don't know when, but I think we're gonna start to see him and Randall on the court together a little bit less. I think you're going to see RJ as these other guys start coming back healthy, like Quickly and Rivers. I think we're going to see RJ play a little bit more with that group. Like, not that he's going to come off the bench or anything, but I think we're going to see him start to divvy up when Randall and RJ need to be on the court and, like, slowly wean RJ into that role. I think that's what we're going to see because they haven't been healthy. They really haven't. They've been playing 8 guys for, 3 games in a row?
Yeah. See, we start to get some of that, then I'm going to start to get a little tingling now.
Yeah.
I got you.
We've only played 6 games. 2 of them, he was great. But I mean, I hear you, like, he's the key. I mean, if he's not good, this all gets depressing, like, very quickly.
There's something, though, about guys like him. Like Brian, you just said what he's averaging. And we're all saying he's been good 2 out of 6 games. And he's still averaging, what'd you say, like 15 points a game, 7
16.
rebounds a game?
Yeah.
Like, there's certain players that do that. Like, they look like crap. And then, you can't just look at the box score. But he does a lot of things well enough to still be a starter in the NBA. Like if you just read his box score, you'd be like, wow, RJ's having a pretty good game. We just watch every second of him playing. We're like, oh, my God, what is this guy doing? But he's still putting up good numbers, even with 4 out of 6 games being, like, universally terrible.
Right. 2 of them, he was horrible.
Horrible.
Now, on that note, we are going to wrap up the radio show. Thanks, everybody, for listening. RadioFreeBrooklyn.com. Thank you for Matt for joining us today. Let's go Knicks. Big week this week. We'll see everybody next week. And bonus time for our podcast listeners. So, Matthew, just to let you know.
Welcome to bonus time.
But welcome to bonus time.
I saw this last week when you told me and I was watching your show. Bonus time, it seems like everyone got a little more relaxed, a little more comfortable.
Exactly.
We're in bonus time.
The cocktails.
So, at this point, 6 games in, have your feelings changed from, say, last spring or even in the preseason, where what if we have, some star player gets unhappy somewhere? Who cares where? Pick your favorite one in your mind. Doesn't matter who they are. And they want to come to the Knicks, and we got to give up RJ for that person. Like, are you still a no way? Are you more open to it now than you would have been before the season started?
It really depends on the player. But I'm really at no way because I still don't think that they're there. I don't think because like someone that comes available to me in my mind, I think Bradley Beal is going to become available at some point this year. I love Bradley Beal. Brian knows I love Bradley Beal. You know I love Bradley Beal. I'm not ready to trade RJ Barrett for Bradley Beal. I don't think Bradley Beal makes them even a top 4 team in the East. I'm not ready to trade Barrett. And for someone like Bradley Beal, I don't think Barrett's doing it. It's going to be like Barrett, this year's pick, and the Mavs pick. Like, that's crazy. Because they're not, he doesn't make them, if they're going to do a trade for a star, it has to be, in my opinion, pretty much the best player in the league, like Giannis. And I have to really immediately after the trade not be like, oh, well, now if we had a free agent. No, the trade happens. I'm going to the finals. Like, that needs to be it. And I don't think that player exists or will become available.
Okay. That's fair. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, no, I would let it play out. Like, they have the 2 first-round picks. Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to make a really risky deal at this point. Like, I don't know. We still haven't seen, like, what Toppin's going to be. We haven't seen Quickly at all. Like, what makes me so excited about this team is, like, I look at, like, every position, and I like the starter and the guy who comes in after him. Like, we get 48 minutes of center play that I like. Mm-hmm. We have power forward. We're going to have Randall and Obi. Like, I'm intrigued, like watching both those guys. And then I'll throw Knox in there. He can play power forward too, right? Like, I like the Burks-Bullock combo. Like, I don't like both of them in too much quantity, but together, split up in a nice amount. I like, and Bullock less than Burks, but like 2 pretty solid players. Like, then you get to the backcourt now. All of a sudden, we have about 3 different guards that I like between Rivers and Quickly. Like, so then you talk about we have 2 first-round picks. We've got some cap space. Like, I don't know. I'm not like throwing away, like making a huge trade where we get rid of a ton of young talent for, it'd be like repeating the Melo trade, right? I don't want to do that again. I'd rather like, let's see what we got here. Like, play this out, see what those picks are going to be. Like, I don't think that move probably won't present itself this year, and I don't think the Knicks should make it if it did.
No, I agree with you guys both. It's really, to me, it wasn't necessarily about making a trade. It's just sort of still getting a gauge on RJ, because he's another one. I don't know why I'm not in love.
I got to tell you, Ishii, and Brian just mentioned his name, and my heart's racing. I think the RJ thing, I'm worried less about RJ, because I think Emmanuel Quickly is better. And I think Emmanuel Quickly is the guy that everyone needs to be completely excited and nuts over. That guy can play, man. I'm telling you, I'm not even worried about drafting one of these awesome point guards next year, because I think he's that good. And if we get one of those top picks and Cade is available, then I think Quickly easily moves to the shooting guard. Quickly, he was drafted. I thought he was a 3-and-D guy. This guy's a complete, true NBA point guard. You could just tell the way he moves. He makes, to me, less pressure on RJ, and I'm not freaking out about RJ not being great, because I think Quickly's a better player. Already, actually. I think Quickly's a better player.
So you just think Quickly is...
I can get nuts in bonus time, right? I can get a little...
You can get nuts, but if Quickly is better than RJ, isn't that a huge problem?
No, that's great. Why is that a huge problem?
I mean, it depends how good he is.
Well, right, yeah, I guess that's what I mean.
Like, he's going to be a superstar. I think he is so good. I really do.
I don't see that, but I like him really excited about Quickly, because he's so confident. He's like no fear out there. Like, he makes stuff happen. He just seems a little small to me, to where like he could actually be a true superstar.
For today,
him
he's
being good.
6'3" and long though. He's 6'3" and he's long.
Yeah, that's true. Him being good would change a lot. Like, him being good solves a lot of problems.
He's good.
I mean, he got hurt right away, like instantly.
Yeah, okay. And he's back. It's not like his hip turned into his knee, turned into his back. He got run into by a 7-foot monster, Miles Turner. I'd probably be sore a week too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys who are 7-foot monsters in the NBA. He's gonna probably run into a bunch of those guys.
Yeah, he's smart. He's too smart for that. He learned.
He's the fouls. He draws those fouls.
Yeah, he's one of those big, like, one of those guys.
Yeah, in Kentucky, he averaged, I think I was reading yesterday, he averaged like 5.4 free throws a game at Kentucky. I don't even think he started on Kentucky. Like, I think that they, for once, had a plan. And, like, they brought in the Kenny Payne, and he was like, you have to draft this guy. And I don't think anyone even thought about him. And everyone looked at him and was like, yeah, this guy's worth moving up a half a round and take this guy. And if Thibodeau was on board and the way Thibs talks about him, I don't know. I think Quickly's awesome.
I think he's good too.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited about him. I think I can't wait to watch him play tonight. Like, I can't stop thinking about him.
I think he's
I am
good too,
fully
but
in
I
love
think if
with
he's
Quickley.
better than RJ already, we have an issue. RJ needs to be better than that.
I think RJ needs to be good too. I think your trepidation, Scott, is that RJ, yes, some of his games have been like 2 for 19. That's a big problem.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah.
that can't happen on a consistent basis. But
I don't think RJ's ever going to stink. Like,
I agree. Yeah,
Like,
I don't think
you
so
know,
either.
he might not be the superstar that we want him and need him to be, but I mean, he's an NBA player. You know, it's not like
He's a
not
third
doing-
overall pick. It's great that he's an NBA player. I don't dispute that he's an NBA player, but he's a third
No.
overall pick.
He's an NBA starter. Like he's a piece. Like I think he's an absolute building block piece. And you put him with Mitchell Robinson, who's looking awesome all of a sudden. I think maybe putting it together. I love that Tibbs likes him. That means a lot to me. Like I was worried about that relationship. I didn't know that they were going to get along, Mitchie and Tibbies. But I like that they like each other.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of guys that come into the league that struggle with their jump shot in the NBA. Like Jaylen Brown comes to mind, and now Jaylen Brown shoots pretty damn well for the Celtics. And once he got his jump shot, he's like a top player in the East right now.
He's good,
Jaylen
yeah.
Brown,
Yeah.
You know, and I just. Like I said, his form's not broken. He does look like he's shooting a medicine ball. I'm not entirely sure why it looks like that, but it doesn't. It looks heavy, but the form's there. And whenever he shoots it, I'm like, just because it's like, if I didn't know RJ shot it and I just saw the hand, the elbow, and the ball, I'd be like, oh, that's going in. And then I realize it's number 9. I go, well, that's
It doesn't go in.
which is very discouraging.
I mean, I think at least, I don't know, maybe if we look back and watch the episode, it'll prove me wrong. I do think I've been somewhat conscious to not use the S word, stinks, on RJ, which is a big word within our group dynamic, and people who listen to the show probably already know it. I'm not saying RJ stinks. I'm just saying I don't feel like either one of you is making a very compelling case to me about why I should be excited that RJ Barrett is a Knick.
See, though, I don't think we're trying to convince you to be excited about RJ Barrett. I think we're just like, don't
panic.
panic. 'Cause
Okay.
If you're, and you know me, I'm hopelessly optimistic. I'm not excited about RJ Barrett. I'm just kind of like, all right, let's just see how he plays before I really freak out one way or the other, which is also difficult for me. But I don't think he's doing anything super exciting that makes you be like, oh yeah, he's a franchise player. But that doesn't make me also say, I think we messed up and this guy's worthless and we're probably not even going to re-sign him after his rookie deal.
Yeah,
I don't think those things either, Brian.
I think he's good. I think he does a lot of things. I like RJ a lot. I think he's good. He's better than I thought he was going to be. I think he's good. Like, he's just missing the shot. And again, I think what Matt said, that he's like, the fact he improved his free throws so much makes me think he's going to hit shots.
Mm-hmm.
The thing when you say like he's not super athletic and like, oh, what does he do well? Like, he's big and he's strong. Like, he's got like Oladipo guarding him and he just takes him to the block and he can kill those guys down there. Like, he can post up, he can handle the ball, he can guard multiple positions. He's good. If he's not the guy that's the savior, but he's the guy that like is a rock. Like, I think he's going to be the guy that then the other stuff starts to get filled in around. He's not by himself. He's not, the guy that you pop him in and then you're good for 10 years, but I do think he's the thing that's going to. And if I'm wrong, I think it's a big problem. But
No, actually, I think that's right. I think that's the case for RJ, and that's what it is that he does well, and that really was compelling. I felt like that argument. And now, but it's again, my question is then, why aren't we seeing more of it? Like, why? Well, yeah.
I think we're seeing it. He's 20 years old. He plays 40 minutes a night. Like, he's filling up the box sheet. He just had 2 games where he couldn't he couldn't make anything. Like they were open looks too. Like that one game, the game against the Raptors. I mean, 8 of those 9 misses were like wide open. You know, like I don't know.
And it sounds so silly too, but like if his misses weren't so terrible, like he almost hits the top of the backboard.
Right.
But and he's also so wide open.
Like if he just missed like a normal person, like
Right.
back rim, front rim, you'd be like, all right. But like every now and then, it's like, who the hell is even letting this? It's like you gave him a basketball he'd never shot before. It's bizarre. And like if the misses weren't that ugly, I know it sounds stupid, but I don't think people would freak out. It's like, I don't know. Some of them have no shot at going in, but they still look good coming off his arm. They still look good coming off his hand.
All right.
But that's also why I don't want to trade him for like the superstar, because I think if we get a superstar through the draft or free agency, I think he's really important and can be really good with a guy that could get him the ball wherever he needs it, and a guy that can play to RJ's strengths rather than RJ being a primary ball handler. Because I don't know if he's that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And I guess, too, like, I've been looking at it, because I think, too, we compare him pretty often to Jimmy Butler, and that's sort of the lens through which I look at him with. But I think Brian's right. Like, you know, he can kind of get anywhere on the floor he wants, and if we can get him a ball in that spot, like, we're in really good shape. And I guess that's kind of what frustrates me about Randall, and then ends up frustrating me about both guys constantly, is that Randall's not the guy that's going to really unlock RJ like that. And so, like, we have both of them on the floor, and they're both supposed to be really good players, but they don't play well together, and it just feels like we're not maximizing that situation, and I just feel, like, frustrated by that, I guess.
I just feel like Randall playing this well makes it so that this can be fun while we wait to keep building this team around all these young guys. Like, we can actually have some fun this year. He's playing awesome. He's maybe part of the future, maybe not, but he makes it good in the short term, while the long term, he doesn't harm the long term at all. So, like, that's where I think Julius Randle is good. And he's making this season a lot of fun.
He is making it a lot of fun. And either he's going to play great and be a Knick, or he's going to play great and get us a nice draft pick. So I prefer at this point to keep him, just because I like him.
Me too. He's gaining there. He's getting in my heart. He's in my bosom.
Ichi, Quickly's going to help unlock RJ Barrett, because Quickly's the
I
best
agree
player.
with that. I think that's going to happen.
No, but I want to see them play together. In all honesty, obviously, you guys know that I'm joking and being hyperbolic on purpose. But I want to see them play. I want to see Quickly and Barrett play, because I think Quickly is super smart. I think he's a super smart player, super skilled, and just very poised. And I don't know where the confidence is coming from, but God damn it, he's full of it.
Help is on the way, Scott. We've been on the desert. Help is on the way. The cavalry is coming. Something's happening. I believe something is happening. I don't know what it is. Something is happening.
I think you guys are like Julius Randle's friends, and you're trying to convince me to ask him to the homecoming dance, and I'm not so sure that I'll be ready. I might text him you up after the dance, but I think those are good points. I do feel a little bit better about it. Who do we have tonight again? Is the Hawks?
Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a fun game.
I want Quickly to cover Trae Young so bad. So I cannot wait to see him cover him. I hope that it happens.
I mean, if Quickly outplays Trae Young tonight, I'm going to have to turn my phone off. You're going to be going bananas.
I'm going to throw my phone out the window. I won't be texting anything. I'm just going to fire it across the house.
I feel like, the best part about the dynamic of our group text is, like, Matt's super positive, always ready to, like, start planning the parade, and Scott is always ready to fire everybody, and I'm trying to navigate it.
RJ is going to hit his first 3 tonight. They're going to be up 3-0. I'm going to text Ishii, everything you said was wrong. You're an idiot. That's what's going to happen on one shot.
Yeah, what's everyone's schedule tonight?
What do you mean?
I have... It's a 7:30 start, so I should be watching it pretty much when it begins, because they usually tip around 7:45. Kids are in bed by about then. I should be live watching it, hopefully.
You're lucky.
Is that what you meant?
Yes, you're lucky to get your kids in bed by 7:45. Jeez.
7:30, man. We give them melatonin. Do you give Haley
No.
melatonin?
Oh, we've done that occasionally. Do you do that? How regularly do you do that?
Regularly enough.
Yeah, no, I like my daughter sometimes. It's like just
In
it's
all
a gummy,
honesty,
What's the dosage? What do you give?
really low.
it's like 1 milligram, and
Okay.
I cut it in half, so I give them half each.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one of my friends started doing it, and so I asked the pediatrician, and I said, "Can you give it to him every night?" And they said, "Absolutely." I said, "Seriously?" And they were like, "Yeah." I go, "All right." Been giving it to him every night for about 6 months now, and everything is better.
Everything is better.
Wow.
I've done it a few times, but maybe I'm gonna start pushing it more frequently.
I've been wondering how you swing some of these Knicks games with 2 kids. Like I get them in because I only got the one. So on with nights when it's Nicole's turn, that's how I get these Knicks games on. But otherwise,
we give them melatonin 6:30. We read books at 7:30. 7:45, they are both out. They also don't nap. I don't know if any of your kids nap.
No.
Haley stopped napping when she was like a year and a half old.
Same thing with Mia. It was crazy. Ben stopped napping when he was like 3, but Mia, same thing. Year and a half, probably.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I have to put on a little performance every night. I really am tired of it. The book, the songs. I have like a set list. All right, what am I going to sing tonight? So I've had it.
That should be featured on next week's podcast.
Right. Right, I'll sing a couple of the hits.
Right.
Am I too excited about the Knicks?
Yes.
Am I just being my crazy self? But there's more reason for it. Like even last year, Scott, I knew they sucked. I at no point last year got nuts, right? Except the year before when Kevin Durant fully signed a contract and then tore his his Achilles, and they tore up the contract also. That year I was out of my mind just because I knew they were coming, and
they didn't come.
I'm telling you they were. But last year I don't remember losing my mind over little things.
I think it
I
died
was
quickly.
very beaten down last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like once the Knicks season ended last year, we just shifted ourselves to the endless Porzingis fighting. But
Yes.
I think I don't think you're crazy for thinking they're good this year. Like my thing with you, Matthew, that I'm always trying to express to you is like, okay, I think they're good. It's like the analogy with the pool, right? I'm like, all right, I'll sit at the edge of the pool and I'll just dangle my feet in and I'll see how this goes. And then you just grab me by the leg and yank me into the pool and then try and swim to the bottom of the deep end with me. And I'm just like, oh, get me out of here. Like,
Yeah. That's genuinely a perfect analogy. That's exactly.
so I don't think you're crazy for thinking that they're good. I'm just not willing to touch the bottom of the deep end yet. That's all.
I think you think I'm crazy. Your analogy was me drowning my best friend in the deep end. I think you think I'm crazy.
Fair. But we're all crazy. Like, I'm not well adjusted.
I can't wait to see what Quickly does tonight. I'm so happy he's back. He's so much fun to watch. Don't you think he looks like a real point guard?
Yes, I think, right. Like, he knows what to
Absolutely.
do with the ball. He knows what he's doing as soon as he
crazy.
gets the ball.
Yeah.
He's constantly moving. He's always probing, pressing. Like, yeah, no, I love watching him too. Yeah.
He's so good. I love it. We have not seen a point guard play like him. I can't even think of the player of who it was that a point guard looked like him as a point guard with the ball in his hands. Like
Yeah.
it was, I guess, Derrick Rose for the 10
Okay.
minutes he was.
Yeah. He had one such game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I actually have to get going. But
All right.
great episode, guys. I'm glad
This
we
was
did
a ton of
this.
fun. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
thanks,
guys.
man.
I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for me. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I'm sure we'll all be communicating constantly during the Atlanta game tonight.
Yes, I will be sending a text probably at 7:48 and let you know all of my feelings in one. Actually, not one text. I usually send about 36. 36 separate incoherent thoughts.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. See everybody next week.
Take
All
care.
right, see you guys.